Okay, well, I'd like to read something to you first. It's less than 2 minutes, so then go from there. Usually, I've done artist talks before, and I usually do not include too much about my um, how I got to where I am as an artist. About my, it's like a bio, but it's more about the art. So let me start with that, please. I was born in southeastern Pennsylvania, and I grew up surrounded by farmland and small towns. 44 years ago, I left there and headed to California in an old station wagon with a boyfriend, a beloved dog, and a few possessions, and $600 cash. I never made it to California because I fell in love with Colorado, and I stayed here to create my new life. In 1996, I took my first oil painting class. That was at the Bemis School of Art in the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center, and the teacher was artist Laura Benamatz, and some of you may know Laura. I learned about handling oil paint using mediums and brushes, the basic techniques of perspective, and basic rules of composition. For a while, I continued painting still life, landscapes, and figures. I learned to draw from the book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. I sketched often and took life drawing classes with artists Sparky LeBold, Kim Mackey, Nathan Solano, and Chris Alvarez. For a few years, I attended open studio figure drawing sessions at Colorado College, at the MAC, and at artist studios around town. I borrowed, bought, and read many art books and visited galleries here and out of state. I was hungry to learn about painters and painting. I also longed to work more freely and directly with color and materials. One day I came across a book called How to Paint with a Knife by artist Coulton Waugh. He's long passed away. He was a maritime painter in the northeast of this country. That book was instrumental in my learning to paint in a way that pleased and interested me. I have been oil painting now for 30 years. Some painters whose work has inspired me over the years are Joan Mitchell, Jean-Paul Riopelle, Jillian Ayres, Howard Hodgkin, and Tom Dixon. That's my bio for you. Maybe let's see what I have here. I use color, form, and texture to transform invisible realms into something visible and tangible. My process is to create first and analyze the work once it's finished. In this series, I found distant memories from my younger days commingling with my current life in Colorado. In addition to personal aspects of my work, I find great inspiration in textiles, a tangible world of form, space, and color. I enjoy the endless variety of textures, and I find comfort in the predictable repetition of patterns. So I've been incorporating some patterns into my paintings. Okay, that's all I can rely on that now. It's really wonderful that Valerie put the three of us artists together, because color seems to be the main subject of all our processes. And that's the same for mine. Color is the key to my process. So just like Kelsey was talking about, I don't know what I'm going to paint. I just start with color. Color is a substance to me. Color is a material to me. I know color is light. I understand that, on a scientific level. But when it comes to paint, to me, color is not paint. Color is its own substance. And the best vehicle for me for pigment is oil, because I find it really, the color, I don't know how to explain that part. That's not quite what I wanted to say. The reason the pigment in oil is the best for me is because of the way it works. I can shape it, I can form it, I can do things like you can do with clay. But at different stages, of course, in the beginning, it's not always like that. Sometimes I use color straight from the tube. I just squeeze the paint right onto the canvas or the paper or the panel, and then I move it around on there. Sometimes I mix the colors on the palette first, and then I work with it, but it always starts with color. Now, when it comes to shaping the color, I just wanted to talk about the two pieces that are not stretched. They're on the clips, the gold clips, and they're kind of taking the notion of shaping color to the max for me. That paint, actually those were completed 5 years ago. All the rest of the paintings are a year or less old. They're all new. The reason I never showed those two before is it was partly an experiment. I wanted to make sure that the paint film was stable enough to hang it vertically. Uh, it's not attached to anything, so if you fold it, the paint, it can crack, or it won't really crack anymore at this point. That's part of what. It's on canvas, okay. Yeah. But I had them drying for a year horizontally. Then I hung them up. So they were hung for 4 years in various studios. I would take them and hang them because I wanted to see how the paint changed and if it changed and what was going to happen. And actually, they're quite, they're good now. There was time to have them out and show those. Yeah, they're stable.
Cover over it. You didn't put a glaze or something to
No.
Hold it on to
No, just the paint. I mean, when you think about it, when you paint on a stretched canvas, you're just putting the paint directly on the canvas.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly, but those are thick.
Very thick. And
yeah.
I didn't know that was going to happen. At that time, 5 years ago, I was painting large abstract expressionist work. And as often happens when I pre-mix the paint, which is why I don't do that too often, but sometimes I pre-mix a lot of paint into a color that I feel like using. Well, with the large expressionist work, there's a lot of times I'll put the paint on the canvas and scrape it back off. So a typical use for the paint that you do that with is to mix it all into a gray and use it for underpainting. That's what a lot of realist oil painters will do. But that's so boring. And the colors were just so beautiful anyway on the palette. But also when I work large, I have like 5 large palettes, so I can have a lot of paint and a lot of colors. And the paint I didn't use on the palette that was pre-mixed, not aside from the stuff that I had already scraped off, but there was already pre-mixed paint. The colors were just wonderful. Like, why should I ruin those and mix them into gray? So I'd always wanted to paint on these loose canvases, so I just scraped it up and I started. It's like, oh, this is better. This is like clay. This is wonderful. So that's how those came out. And so in a way, when I told Valerie, about those paintings, I said, well, how about a show about rescuing paintings? Because I kind of rescued the paint, and I was rescuing. I didn't want to waste it, and also I had a lot of paintings that I'd stopped working on, which I do often, and I'll put them away for years. I don't consider them failures. I just don't know where I'm going to go with them. And I thought, well, I could rescue those paintings now, But as I started painting more and more, it turned into more of, I was like, what is really most important here? Not that I'm rescuing things. What's most important is I'm sharing my thoughts and my interests, and with making something tangible for people to see. The words are inadequate for what I want to share, so I made something tangible to share, and I guess I'm done talking. So.